recently, the Delhi High Court has ordered the armed forces to stop using the social media platforms like Facebook, Insta, etc. So what's your opinion on that?
It is recent. Delhi High Court ordering is a different issue. That is one of the officers have approached the court, and so the honorable court has given a decision. That is a separate issue. I would like to address it from a neutral point of view, saying uh, every guy who is serving in army is ruled by Army Act. There are different rules with which we operate by. We don't have army. It is not like civilians. So whenever we get orders to implement certain things, we implement. The same way we got uh, these things, all those 18 and apps should not be there. That is implemented. That is from various reasons. Whatever I understand from my 5 years of experience,
Yes, yes.
all these apps, they collect your data, basic data, where you live, what you do, what's your age and all, and where you are. Location is GPS is available in every mobile these days.
Yes, yes.
So that is the main reason. And to mitigate honey trapping and all this information leaks that that happened, that was told. High Court judgment is a different thing. One of the officers have taken up a case because he felt it otherwise. So that is the thing that happened.
So Teja, like because you have brought this word of honey trapping and the army banning 89 apps like Tinder, Bumble, etc. So please explain to our audience like how this honey trapping goes on, especially in this western border of Pakistan, and how is army dealing with it at present?
With the change of times, previously there was no smartphones. When we were kids, we hardly had landlines. There was no social media. Now everything is at your fingertips. Everything is available. Even at this moment, if I want to know where Arshit is, where somebody else is. It is available. Now the play, like we have already discussed, warfare has changed. There is no pitch battles anymore these days. It is all cyber. So honey trapping in the sense that at higher level it happens it happens for various reasons. But what normally happens is soldiers also use mobiles. They also have all these social media accounts and all. So at times they don't understand what to share and what not to. There are certain things which public need not know. Where he is serving, what he is doing at that particular moment and all. So that is honey trapping. The adversaries pinpoint such guys. This guy is serving here, so if we can get behind him, somehow trap him by luring, by maybe by subterfuge, by blackmail, or by some software attacks like Trojans, phishing links and all. So this is how honey trapping happens. They trap you in one way or the other, and then they try gaining information from you. So anybody can fall prey to it. Even if I get a mail from a source and I just click it, there are that options also. I don't exactly know the terminology. Maybe computer science guys may be able to fill in better. You just click the link, you don't even know that there is a malicious software installed on your computer and all the data will be siphoned. So all these things happen. To prevent that, all these apps were banned in the first place. And what is one more thing that you have asked that I missed?
I mean, what steps is the army taking right now to reduce this?
These steps are always in place.
Right.
There are various forums in which unit or subunit commander addresses his troops, takes care of his welfare, and during all these things, they are briefed what to do and what not to do, how to deal with if there is any call from our adversaries. People keep getting calls from our western and eastern adversaries. I don't want to take names, but we all know. So that calls keep coming. So that there is a channel of reporting. They report, I got a call from so number, and then necessary action will be taken. Though there are teams at different levels in army to deal with this, to mitigate it. Now the whole world is open. Actually, it's a small village now. There is no boundaries. So things keep happening, knowingly or unknowingly, they keep happening, and necessary steps are taken at whatever levels and however it is deemed fit.
So Teja, like now, if you see every government department in India, whether it's central or at state level, there will be shortage of staff. So I have recently read that even in army there is like huge shortage of stuff, particularly at the officers level. So how does the Indian Army deal with it?
Actually, why is this happening is there are fixed requirements.
Right.
So by the time when I attended my SSB, they were out of 300, only 5 were taken. Not that others are useless. They are not suited for whatever is required out there. It is just that. I know a lot of people among them who are doing exemplarily well in some other fields. Even few people are there in this session also. True. So it is that way. Even if they have come here, they would have done exceedingly better. If all those 300 would have come here, they would have done better. The only thing is, there is something which the selection board has wanted in them, which is not available, so they have not taken it. It is not key. It is not like any other thing. Like if suppose a multinational company is giving out a job notification, they say there are 50 posts available, and if 300 guys come, they take 50 out of 300. And if it is any other government job, for that matter, some lecturer post in some specific college, they have a certain set of requirements. Like you're supposed to have a degree in so and so field and some experience, and then you clear your interview, and then you're in. But it is not that way in army. Until and unless you have that specific set of qualities that are required out of you to be an officer, you're not chosen. That is one of the reasons why there is some shortage of officers, and that is why they are increasing now intake in short service commission and all. It is not a problem. It is not a problem.
Okay. So now moving to this Galwan crisis thing, I would say the threat perception of India has changed significantly after the Galwan crisis created by China. So now, like, how does the army motivate the soldiers at this point of time, where everyone is feeling that we may be attacked from both sides of the border by two big nuclear powers? How do you motivate your soldiers?
No, it is. My answer may surprise you, but this threat was always there. It is always there. We always had our eastern adversary in the east and our western adversary in the west. They were always there. The only thing is, if you remember back in our college when Mumbai attacks happened, the first information we got was through Hindu. If you after it used to get mitigated, these are the corrective steps taken by government and the army or the paramilitary or the local police, and then these many casualties has happened. Well, that is how information used to flow in those days. But now even that thing has even started. General public come to know, acha, wahan pe kuch chal raha hai. There is something happening there. So that is what the only. It will always be there. So regarding motivation of troops, now that you have asked regarding Galwan crisis, I would like to quote the same example to you.
Sure.
Sure, people must have read articles of what has happened there, how things turned out and all. So we are all already motivated. Our guys are already motivated. Whatever casualties, double, triple, I am pretty sure China will never reveal the number. But I assure you, they are thrice or 4 times more than what we have suffered. But the pathetic condition of Chinese is they'll never own up. They don't care. They lose 100, 200, they just don't care. But we are not like that. We don't leave anybody behind. So that way they are already motivated. Once that thing has happened, the kind of reaction that has taken place there itself is the proof how motivated troops are. And yes, your question is also relevant in a different way. Like when these things happen and media projects it in a different way. Like each media guy who's working for channel A projects it in a different way. Guy who's working for channel B projects it in a different way. So I think maybe I'll digress from the topic a bit. There should be policy for media to follow regarding any news related to defense forces. Of course, freedom should be there, but somebody who is not aware what is happening on ground, what a battalion is, what a company is, they keep harping about those things which will adversely affect the morale of troops on ground. And it will take a lot of time again to get them to that morale. People, officers and JCOs on ground and other guys on ground face a lot of difficulty in dealing with these things. So I would say there should be some policy which, our guidelines rather, to guide media to not give whatever they feel
That's
like.
good advice.
Otherwise, in the
So,
American
Teja,
motivation of troops, commanders at various levels keep interacting with them daily, so they're always motivated.
so this, do you have an internal grievance mechanism, proper mechanism? Because you are not, you should not come out on the media, etc. Because you have Official Secrets Act, Armed Forces Act, etc. So do you have proper grievance redressal mechanism inside?
I think I can say we have the best grievance mechanism any organization can ever have. Any organization can ever have. We don't need media. We are like a family. They're like I already told you. Army is a way of life. We are like a family. Once you are here, you are like a family. Wherever you go, you have somebody to look after. You have some people whom you should look after. So it is a two-way thing. Everybody has down the chain different people to approach if he or she is having any problems. So the grievance mechanism is foolproof. If somebody is coming out in the media and harping, this is not being done, then he's inefficient, he is useless. He is not a part of the armed forces of India, that I would say. The grievance mechanism is as such if the youngest of soldiers has a certain problem, he can always approach his senior at any time. And then down the chain it comes up and the solution, 99% of the time it gets solved itself, then and there itself. If there is any problem, it comes up and then it is solved. There is no problem in the grievance mechanism cell of Army, that I can assure.
Okay, right. So Teja, now I have one more question for the students especially. So I'd like to ask you the comparison of an aspirant entering into Army, Navy and Air Force. So many aspirants outside feel Army is better placed and more attractive than Navy and Air Force. What's your take on that? Do you have any bias of such?
I would say better. But no, it is not that way. It depends on how you see your life, how you see your professional life. Army has a different set of requirements, Navy has a different set of requirements, and so do Air Force. So it depends on what you see, what you want your professional life to be.
So like, how is the present Corona effect on you and the Army?
Like my hairstyle itself is an example. Otherwise, I would have had a crew cut, but now I would say there are a lot of restrictions because manpower intensive force. We are a manpower intensive force. We work in groups, we work in teams. So this thing is now a social distancing and all has come up. Things have changed the way we operate previously. And now we got used to it. Now we are operating as per government guidelines and other health guidelines that are time and again being passed. So nothing much has changed. It is the same thing. The only thing is being more careful, trying to prevent this thing, but let's see how it turns out.
Like, I would like to ask my last question, like, what are your future and post-retirement plans? You can tell us in brief.
Future, I'm happy right now. I've never expected to be this way when I first joined because I'm not from a background, army background. I don't have anybody, even my relatives, or even our college also, we had very less exposure to army or what that is. So initially I faced some problems. Physical fitness used to be a problem, which now I have overcome. So now I'm happy. I'm in a very wonderful organization. I sleep peacefully every day. So all I want to do is I want to improve myself, be a better self of me every other day and serve my men and ultimately my country. As long as I am in army, and even after that, post-retirement plans, I don't know. Maybe I want to farm or teach. Not yet decided.
Okay. Thank you, Teja, for participating in this webinar. Whenever you feel free, you can ping us whatever you want to teach or share your experience with our juniors or the outsiders. Change Role India is always welcoming. Thanks once again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Teja.
Okay, Ashit.
Bye.